Cool. Okay, so I am on the test server right now. I'm on our test server, and I'm also on the community preview account. And we're going to just go directly to the studies page. So I'm going to pop right over to the studies page and talk about CopyShare Manager. The study that I'm going to be working in, the study that I'm going to be getting code books for in the CopyShare Manager is this V9 Static Hair Webinar study. Okay, and I want to start out just by taking a look at this study and kind of just talking a little bit about the study, the questions that are in the study. So I'm going to right-click and choose questions. So you'll notice that in this study, I've got some closed ends, I've got another specify, I've got some open ends. All right, only one question has a code book right now. You can see that by the code book is empty column here. Okay, the rest of the questions need code books. Now, something that has come up when we're talking about the CopyShare Manager, there was concern that the tools that we have available, the CopyShare Codebook from, the CopyShare Codebook to, dual codebooks, and Unshare, all of that's still available to us when we right-click on the question. Okay? But what I'm going to do today, we're going to actually be talking about the CopyShare Manager. So the CopyShare Manager has been renovated. Same functionality, just more functionality, more tools, more filtering options and search options available to us. So when I access the CopyShare Manager through a question, I'm actually accessing the entire study. Okay, and the layout of the CopyShare Manager page, first of all, you know, it tells us we're in CopyShare Manager, and we look up to the right corner here. And we've got 3 panes to start out with and a little toolbar, okay? Of course, we've always got our navigation icon as well. So the pane I'm going to start with is the pane on the far right over here, and this is the target pane. So the target pane will tell us the study that we've navigated through. Again, no matter which question you choose in a study to access CopyShare Manager, you're actually accessing the entire study. So over here in the target pane, it tells us that these are the questions from V9 Static Hair Webinar. Okay, and under that we have a little search bar, and under that we have some filter options, and then we have a list of the questions in this study that can accept a new codebook. So these questions can accept a new codebook. Notice that most of these questions have a little closed book in front of them. That means that there's no existing codebook for these questions. But in the Q8, it tells us, hey, you know, it has an open book saying, hey, there is a codebook here. Okay, the codebook hasn't been used. If the codebook had been used, this question would not be showing up here in the target area. Okay, so in this case, this codebook has not been used. So again, only questions that have not been coded at all will show up over here in the target area, because these questions can accept a new codebook, and that's why we use the CopyShare Manager to get codebooks for our questions. All right, and again, we always kind of know what's going on. So we've got the icon that tells us if a codebook exists or not. We've also got the question type listed here in the second column. Then we've got the question ID, question label. Okay. After that, if there is a codebook, we are told how many codes are in the codebook, and this is actually a link to get a view of that codebook. Okay. And then for any of these questions, we have these 3 little dots that allow us to go back to the questions page. We can actually add a new question. We can look at the properties of the question, okay, and edit the properties of the question if we like, or we can go directly to Ascribe Coder. So we can go pretty much anywhere that we want to go from here. If we do need to see the details of the study and the question, we can also click on this question ID, question label link, and it will give us the study info, the question info, all of the question and study components are listed here. Okay, so that's what we see on the target side. Okay, over here on the source side, let me just turn this up or turn this on. Over here on the source side, you'll notice that the source right now is the same as the target. And in the source field, in the source pane, I should say, what we're going to see listed here are any questions in the study that we've navigated through, the study that we've accessed the CopyShare Manager through. We're going to see any questions that currently have a codebook, because this codebook can be copied or shared to any of the other questions in the study, okay? But that's not what we want to do right now. You'll notice that the third pane over here, the Choose From pane, actually allows us to select the source. So where do we want to get our codebooks from? So by default, it starts at an item in this study. So when we're at an item in this study, again, it's just going to list the questions that have codebooks in this current study. Oftentimes, you'll have just created a study and loaded data into it, and none of your questions will have codebooks in that study yet, so the source will be blank. The source pane will be blank. So what I want to do is choose an item in another study, because typically that's what I'm doing. I'm looking for codebooks either from an account codebook or from an item in another study. So when we choose an item in another study, we've got another pane that pops up. This is our studies pane. All right, and our studies pane has a couple of things that weren't available to us in the previous CopyShare Manager. So the first thing that we have available is that we can actually search the study ID or study name. Okay, so I can search, for instance, if I'm looking for study ID 0002, I can type in 0002, and you'll notice that just one study pops up. Okay, my number is 0002, Static Hair Master Numeric Study. I could also search for static, because I could also search for the study name. So now I'm finding 4 different studies that have the word static in the study name. Okay, another thing that I can do is I can actually filter. So I could say, well, I want to see studies that are under construction, perhaps. Okay, or maybe I just want to see those that are in progress. So I can filter by the study status. Okay, so the study status filter is new, and being able to search by the study ID or study name is new as well. Once you've found the study that has the code books that you're looking for, okay, you're going to click on it. Here we go. So what you see here are all of the questions in the Static Hair Master Numeric Study, and it tells you under source that you're looking at the questions in the Static Hair Master Numeric Study. Our target is still the target that we navigated in through. Okay, so now our source has changed. Our source is now a different study. Okay, and you can see that each one of these questions in this study has a code book. Well, it has to have a code book to be listed here. We're currently seeing the open and the closed ends. I'm going to turn off the closed ends, and I'm going to do the same over here, because we can actually filter by question type. So now we're seeing just the open ends. And now I can decide, you know, what do I want to do? Do I want to copy, or do I want to share code books? So what I do is I choose a question in the source, and then I choose the target. So this code book is going to be copied or shared to this question. Okay. Again, if I want to kind of preview the code book, I do have that option to preview the code book here. Okay. And when I'm ready, I'll either choose copy or share. And in this case, I'm going to choose share, just so that I can show you what the share looks like. Okay. When a code book is shared, you have the book with 2 little arrows behind it, and then right beside that you have a number, and that number tells you where this code book is shared. So it gives you the study ID, the study name, the question ID, the question label, the code book ID, the type, and so on and so forth. So you can see when something is shared and what it is shared with. Okay? And if that was an accident, you can immediately just click unshare, and the code book is unshared, but it is now a copy. And you can see that it's just the open book, and that it exists there. So this is how we use this window. Now, a couple of other things about it. So we've got the item in another study. We've talked about this pane, but we can also copy from account codebooks. Okay, and I'm going to go into a little bit more about sharing and unsharing in account codebooks when we're finished with this Copy Share Manager overview. So the account codebooks are codebooks that have been specifically designated as, these are kind of guide codebooks. These are codebooks that we use over and over again. We do have a number of accounts that use account codebooks. I think that we're going to be talking about it more and more because they're just becoming more and more accessible. So account codebooks, when you see this view, you're actually seeing a codebook view. Each line is actually a codebook, and if you click on it, you're going to see what the codebook is because they're not necessarily associated with a study or a question. Okay? So I've got my hair care likes here, and I could say, well, you know what, I want to use my hair care likes for my Q9. And I could go in and I could copy or share. And now I've got my hair care likes copied to my Q9. Okay? So we can actually source from account codebooks. We can source from accelerators, or we can source empty codebooks. So empty codebook means that you can go in and you can say, well, you know what, I want to start fresh. I just need to wipe out all of these unused codebooks. Okay? Again, we only see questions that can accept a new codebook in the target pane. So basically, we can select all of these, hit empty codebook, and copy, and now we are back to having no codebooks in this particular study. Okay? We just wiped out all those codebooks by copying empty codebooks. So there are times when you might just want to start fresh, and start over. So you could go in and empty all the codebooks. A good thing for this would be if you copy a study. So you've copied a study and realize that, oh wait, we need to start with fresh codebooks. They want us to build these codebooks from scratch. So you could just come in here and empty all the codebooks at once rather than going into Ascribe Coder and deleting each one or starting some other way. Okay, so that's the empty codebook option. So Julie, did any questions come up while we were going through that today?
Not yet.
Okay, great. Okay, so there's a couple of other things that I wanted to make sure that I touched on. And one of those is how we create account codebooks. So that has come up in previous sessions. Another one is unsharing. Okay, and to get to the unsharing, so I'm going to show my closed here real quick. Again, just showing that question type filter. Okay, and I'm going to just take one of these. I'm going to just take this codebook right here. Okay, and I'm going to share it with, boom, I'm going to share it with all of my closed ends. So I'm going to hit share. Okay, so this codebook from 0002, Static Hair Master, has now been shared with all 4 of these questions in the webinar study. Okay, so we could unshare these individually, one at a time here, if I wanted to, but there's another way that we can do this, and I think most of us know this, but I just want to review it. If I go back to the questions page, okay, and notice it takes me back to the questions page of the study that I navigated through originally. So I'm back in my V9 Static Hair webinar. All right, and I've got these questions that share a codebook here. What I can do is right-click, copy share, and hit unshare. And this is, if I'm unsharing, this is the way I prefer to unshare because it allows you to keep some shares and remove others. So in this case, if I want to keep the share within the study, so I want to keep the share between the 4 questions within the study, so I'm in the believe question that's listed here, right? I want to keep the share with the questions within the webinar study. I just want to sever it from the other study. Then I can remove shares from the 002Q76, but keep it within. And when I hit OK, you'll notice that the shared questions go down to 4, and it has removed it, it has severed the share from the original study. So if I'm unsharing, typically this is where I unshare by going to the questions page, right-click, unshare, copy, share, unshare, okay? The other thing that I wanted to talk about was the account codebook. If I want to make a codebook, an account codebook, I can right-click on the question and access codebook properties right here on the questions page. Okay, so these are my codebook properties for this simple little codebook that I have for my closed ends. Okay, so I could call this my rating, my standard rating, my rating codebook, if I wanted to. Okay, and I could make it an account codebook. So I give it a name and I mark it account codebook. When I do that, it will now appear when I go into, let's just pop right back into the Copy Share Manager. When I go into the Copy Share Manager and choose Account Codebooks, you now see that my rating codebook appears here. Okay? So my rating codebook is now available. And again, it's just a simple little rating codebook as an account codebook. So you can make any question into an account codebook. Okay? Pretty simple thing to do. And those are the things that I wanted to cover today. And now we have 10 minutes left, and I'll go ahead and I'll open the floor. Or Julie, are there any questions before I open the floor? Okay.
Yes, there is a question. So I want to make sure this is explained. Okay.
Do we need to let somebody speak?
Okay. So if the coding has been started, can you see those questions in the Copy Share Manager?
You would not see them in the target area, but you would see them if you navigated through. So let me go to another study and show how that looks. Okay, so if coding has been started, you're not going to see it in the target pane, ever. Okay, so let's go into these exercises and see what I've got here. So here we've got some that have coding and some that do not, some that have code books. So if I navigate to the Copy Share Manager, okay, what you're going to notice, first of all, I probably need to show, that's another thing, the filters do stick, okay, so if you'll need to check that each time. There we go. Okay, so what you're going to notice is that the list of questions here, okay, there's a few of them that are listed in the source that aren't listed over here in the target, and that's because some of these have actually been coded, okay, one of them being my Q8 auto code. This guy has already started, we've started coding on this one, okay, so since we've started coding, it's not listed over here. All right, it's only listed in the source. So if I start going to items in another study, you know, we don't have access to this here. And Julie, is there more to that?
No, that's fine. That's fine, Laura.
Okay.
So the follow-up to that is, okay, I've started coding with the wrong code book. I need to remove that coding quickly. So can you show the delete questions page real quick?
Sure. Yeah, typically I leave the delete questions page up to the administrators to decide whether or not they want to show that to people, but that's okay. So what you would do if you needed to delete coding quickly, there's actually ways to do this in Ascribe Coder. That's probably a little safer than going to the questions page, but I'll show you the questions page. So on the questions page, if I wanted to delete coding, let's say that I wanted to delete the coding in exercise 1, what I would do is choose delete questions, and then I would choose exercise 1, okay, and I would just delete the codes. Again, this is a window, this is a very powerful window, because you can actually delete responses, you can delete an entire question. If you delete responses or an entire question, the work that you've done that day could very well be lost, because we make nightly updates to our repository, but and if you delete an entire study, we can get that back immediately, but if you delete a question or a part of a study, you know, this is pretty serious business. So if you hit OK, it's going to delete the coding. So I'll show you another way to do that. okay, to delete all the coding in a question. And you would do that. Well, let me just go back to supervisor studies, and we're going to go into, we'll go into this one here. Okay. So let's say that I want to delete the coding that has taken place in Q7. I can go into Ascribe coder, okay, and I'm going to return all of my coded responses. So any code applied, and hit go. Okay, so here's all my coded responses. 2 steps to this. I'm going to select all, and then I'm going to right-click and hit select all codes and selected responses. Okay, and then I'm going to right-click and say remove this and all selected codes. And I've essentially, it tells me everything I'm removing, I've essentially uncoded this now. So when I go back and hit go, we have, there's nothing coded now. So again, that is a, I think, a safer way to delete coding. You have a little more control over it. It's not as fast, but it's a way that works pretty well. So again, to do that, you would go into Ascribe coder. You would return all of your uncoded responses, so show responses with any code applied, so all of your coded responses. You right-click on the response, select all, right-click on the response again, select all codes in the responses, okay? And then you right-click on the code and say remove this and all selected codes, and you have now completely uncoded just this individual question. Again, I think that's a little safer than going to the delete questions page, but that's your prerogative as to how you go about doing that. All right. Any other questions, Julie?
That's all right now.
Okay, great. So again, if anyone's interested in participating in the community preview or accessing this test account, you can access it through the link that I put at the beginning of the chat, okay? And that is just, I'll go ahead and click on that link just to talk a little bit about that. So when you do that, when you click on that link, it's going to ask you to create a new user. So you would create a new user. I think I'm on 11 here. And then you'd put in your email address, your first name, your last name. There we go. And create user. When you do that, it's going to create a user on this user preview account. It's going to tell you, hey, we just emailed you a link to set your password. So this is all self-administered. So now you should have a link from us, or from support, I do believe is who it comes from. Yeah. So you've got this little guy that came up and said, hey, you set up this new username. Click this link to set your password. And that's what you'll do. You'll just set your password. Hit OK. Boom. Hit OK. Password again. Sign in. And you have access to the test servers. Okay. So that's everything I have today. I'm going to go ahead and end the session so I can start the next one, so I can start the presentations to Illustrator session. If you do have any questions, you're welcome to email support at goascribe.com, and we'll get you taken care of. Thank you all for your attention, and have a great day.